Waiting. Okay, we are live on a LinkedIn Somnia episode in the afternoon because I do that once in a while. And today I have Christina Burruss. So, do you want to give a brief intro about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a marketing consultant. I grew up in corporate America for the last 20 years and really had an evolution of, from going from market research to product marketing to being a company spokesperson into retail execution. And
Yeah.
last year, kind of forging on my own path and launching my own consultancy. And that's really where I kind of picked up steam, if you will, on LinkedIn. And that's how we met. So yeah, the journey continues.
I sometimes meet people not on LinkedIn, but the majority of people today I meet on LinkedIn. It's somewhere. It stems from LinkedIn. Even
Yeah.
like the people I meet on other platforms is because they saw something I wrote about LinkedIn. Like on Reddit, I met someone on. It's just funny. That's my life. So I mean, let's talk about fear, right? It's a topic, and you probably personally experienced it because it isn't easy starting your own consultancy because it's so different when you're given work versus finding work, and then you're like, how much do I charge? Will they accept me? Will they all that stuff? So can
Yeah.
you talk about like what got you motivated to start your own?
And all that you talked about, right, is uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
And that's really the basis of fear. You've got two emotions. You've got love based emotion. You've got fear based, right? And it's either or, and it can't be both. And as you move away from love and your authenticity and your truth, you're embracing fear, and that keeps us stagnated. And so for me, transitioning from a secure corporate life, where you've got a great salary and you kind of know where you're going, or think you know where you're going, into consulting, there are a lot of unknowns, but there are a lot of positive unknowns. And when we shift our mindset to those possibilities and the limitlessness, you overcome the fear.
So what were you most scared about? Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah. Well, I'm a single mom and I have three children, so that's kind of a point of a fear of completely losing everything, and but those are unfounded, right? So fear, one of my favorite acronyms for that is false evidence appearing real. And so it would be false evidence for me to predict and project onto my evolution, that I couldn't make it, that I don't have value because I didn't have a title or a big brand backing me. It was just me. And so, yeah, that's one of the biggest things that I've had to deal with.
So I mean, I don't know about you. Like I live at home with my parents, and even I was scared. So more power to you for having the kids. Like what? So what helped you not be fearful, right? Because you have the three kids, you have to support, and money's always in it. Even when people are working, money's an issue, right? So I can imagine it's when you have your own thing. So what sort of made you confident on making that leap?
Look, man, you have no choice, right? You're either going to do it or you're not. And the only way to find out is if you keep moving forward and you continue to basically create and never underestimate yourself, knowing that you're okay in this moment. And so a lot of the fear-based projections that I have are things that haven't yet happened. We're thinking about what might happen if I fail, if I'm judged, if I'm not accepted, if I don't get a contract, if I don't pay my bills. None of those things have happened yet. Um, and so sitting in that place of just wondering and basically mental gymnastics, if you will, isn't serving. And so really just had to get real with myself, and either I'm going to do it or I'll die trying. So
Yeah, no, I mean
yeah.
respect. So look, you know what I realized? I have crap. I'm on the wrong browser. Oh man, I'm such an idiot. So I have this green thing behind me
Yeah.
because I'm always sort of unprepared in some aspect. So I have this green thing behind me because I'm supposed to use a virtual background. And then I was realizing like my background's green. I was like, oh, I'm supposed to have a virtual background, but I'm in the wrong browser. So sorry, audience, you're gonna see this green thing without a virtual background. But yeah, no, I mean you're right that we do a lot of things because like when you have no choice, you have to. And I kind of want to do a slight transition in that when things are mandatory and you have no choice, you get a lot of things done because you see all these companies right now they're doing remote work. All of this was possible a year ago 2 year ago. Look, 10 years ago is different. Internet connections weren't the same. Technology wasn't as advanced. Software wasn't as advanced. So I get that. And it's just funny because I remember I used to work in corporate and people were like, oh, this guy doesn't work like it when people work from home. Well, good, because now he has no choice. And it's just funny that all these same CEOs that you would be like, hey, we can't do this, XYZ, productivity, this and that. And it's like, it's working. Companies are still doing okay. So, and it's just crazy that, and it kind of stems from that fear of change, fear of them losing control, fear of their old beliefs being really challenged.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? This notion of control, that they need to see a warm body in a chair to ensure that work is getting done, when in fact, if they just relinquish that and let go of those fears, those unserving fears, you've got a team that's encouraged, empowered, and very successful. And I think a lot of people are coming to terms with that. And one of the many positive things that have come out of 2020, when I know many people are in a state of fear right now because of the uncertainty, but the uncertainty has always been there, right? Doesn't matter if you have a title, if you have a business card, if you've got the big brand backing you, you could lose that job. So your sense of stability and security is kind of false as well if you're not really believing that you'll be okay regardless of what happens tomorrow.
No, I mean, you're completely right, because I've seen people 20 years working for a company laid off. New person comes in, mergers and acquisition, or they messed up, or new boss, new department going away. There's so many things. And it's like, just, you kind of want to live as if, hey, look, if things go, will I be okay? And that's when you're not fearful. When you're like, look, whatever happens, like I took enough precautions, I set myself up, and I'll kind of do that. So were you always sort of like that? Like, how long were you thinking about making the move? Because it's not like, hey, I want to start a consultancy. It's like, hey, I should start a consultancy. No, now's not the right time. Now's not the right time. Oh, no, I can't do it because of this. So what was your process like that?
Yeah, no, I haven't always been, fearless. A lot of the things have been life circumstance. I told you, I have 3 children. I'm a single mom, so I didn't always start out this way. I was married at one time, and so I went through the divorce and that whole process. The grieving, and then the empowerment as well. So leaving corporate after 14 years at the biggest brand that I'd worked for, I was actually laid off. And so it was basically like another divorce for me. But knowing that I had lived through so much before, really, I mentioned that I think it got a little off base, but the life circumstance that I'm in, it does having a corporate job where I'm going to a desk 9 to 5 every single day and or more, asked to travel, asked to do all these things, is that best for my lifestyle? And what's my lifestyle? The fact that I do have 3 small human beings that I have to care for, that I want to be present with, that thing. So the corporate security and the benefits and the paid the paycheck every 2 weeks is one thing. But the trade-off is also being limited by those parameters. And so I had to shift my mindset from that. Let me trade in that life for the life that I do want to have, which is being recognized for the contributions that I make, signing on with clients that I believe in their mission and I'm aligned with them. So I'm loving my work, and also having the flexibility. I do a lot of writing, and I do have clients around the globe. And so I work around the clock. What does that enable me to do? That enables me to be more present for my kids. And goodness, for 2020, when the kids are homeschooled and they're in the house 24/7 like we all are, that has just been such a blessing. And that gives me even more confidence to realize that everything is happening for our highest good.
Yeah, no, I mean, let me just acknowledge, Ramazan said, great conversation at the perfect time. Thank you for joining. Hey, John, Lindsay, Rick, he says he has to be doing this. Asif, Daniel, Fahad, Adajoru, thank you, Adajoru. Hey, Kelsey, nice to she didn't get my notification the other day, so I'm glad you caught it. So, like, how was it in the beginning, right? Because we always have this idea in our head when we're going to make that leap, it's going to be a certain way, but it's never the same. It's always something different. So how was it in the beginning? And obviously, when do you sort of get the hang of it, or do you have the hang of it, right? I mean, I still, it's always different. You're always adjusting to something new. And especially this year is like a totally different year compared to other years.
So the thing is, I'd like to sit here and say, I had it all figured out, and that was, good. But no, I didn't have it all figured out. And so I'll be really upfront. I had, a really nice severance package. So it gave me a really nice launching pad in my savings to not be in a state of, a frantic stage in the very beginning. I took a lot of time off I did a lot of meditation. I went to therapy. I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of reading. Networking on LinkedIn to kind of reconnect with old colleagues and old friends, to really take stock and inventory of what I wanted and how I wanted my life to look. And when I was ready to get back out there, I brushed up my resume. I was open to seeking new corporate opportunities, and meeting with people that I'd known, my contacts. And it was really a breakfast meeting one day when the person I was meeting with said, "Why are you looking for another corporate job? Why aren't you trying to consult?" And I'm there and I'm talking personal stuff and professional dreams and whatnot. And he said, it really seems to me that maybe you need to go your own route, establish your own brand and do what you want to do, because you do have the kids, because, you have all this experience and this wealth of knowledge to offer. Just try it. And I thought, that's interesting. Maybe, I don't know. I never really thought of myself that way, that possibly. And a week later, somebody else that I had talked to, just completely unrelated, he called me up and he said, "Hey, I got this deal, and I really need someone with technical expertise to help me out on the writing piece. Do you want to do it?" I'm like, "Do what?" He's like, "Do you want to come on? Do you want to do this? It's not full-time work, but this is what it is. Tell me if you could do it. Tell me what your rate would be." And that's how my consultancy was born. It just kind of landed in my lap, and I ran with that. And it's been more of an attraction point, to be honest with you, than me chasing clients. I don't do a lot of selling and business development. To be honest with the consulting, a lot of people come towards me with referrals and just knowing that I'm a free agent out there. It's been amazing.
No, that's very good. Now, going back, what were you afraid of when you had your corporate jobs? Like, right, not the consultancy. What were you afraid of then? Right, because that's a different sort of fear, right? You have sometimes getting fired. You have sometimes like not getting the promotion, speaking up, talking to whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I think my biggest thing was my ability to move up and continue to be a player and be somebody who's always invited into the table, because I had a lot of obligations outside of work. When I was younger and I was single and always able to take all the travel jobs, and when I was a corporate spokesperson, I was on the road 75% of the time. I was at all the major trade shows. I was doing all the things, and I was given a lot of opportunity, and I thrived in that environment. But not being able to do all those things definitely made me feel less of a contributor, if you will. And that always weighed in the back of my mind. How long am I going to be valued here if I'm never present at a lot of the stuff happens at the happy hours, happens at, hey, could we take a last minute business trip out to Ohio because we got to give the sales pitch, those types of things. You got to be at the table. And so some of that, of course, I was cut off from because of my obligations and my choice, right? To put my children first.
Now, hold up. I had the question and I forgot. So let me go to the audience. And Kelsey said an amazing thing. Those are the best jobs when you're not looking. And I find that a lot of things are like that. Like you're not looking for it and it sort of comes in your way. But it's sort of, you've been setting yourself up, right? It's not like it's not just like, hey, you got lucky. It's just, hey, you set yourself up. Now, would you learn about yourself? And, in terms of fear, let's relate back to the topic. Would you learn about yourself that was new when you started? Like, was there anything new? And I'm pretty sure there is. Like, there's something new. Oh, I hate this, or I should have realized this, or wow, I didn't know that about myself. Or you just got some deeper insight into yourself.
And there's one thing. I think this is the big thing that it's an unhealthy relationship that I've had with money in general. I think a lot of people do that. Your vision of what you're valued from, and I recently came upon one thing in my life that kind of embedded this fear in me, and it was going back to my elementary school days. And I'm a little older than you, so maybe you don't remember these days, but in elementary they would do fundraisers, and they would
Oh,
literally.
I remember the magazines. I wonder how they
Yeah.
still do it. I actually. All right, let me take off this green thing because it's like blocking what I want to show. Hold on, sorry. All right, hold up. I sort of dropped my fan, so keep talking as you're doing this. But you see that Muhammad Ali thing?
Yeah.
I got it at one of the fundraiser. Like someone at work, they had like their niece's fundraiser, and that's what I got it. And it's. I mean, it was cool. I remember when I used to do those. I never. You have to like sell so much to get like the Nintendo. And I remember I got something, and I was like so happy. But yeah, it was just one of those things that it was cool. But yeah, sorry to cut you off. But yeah.
No, yeah, you do have to sell a ton to get those things. And so, but so back in the day, what they would do is versus the mail order stuff that my kids bring home now. But they literally used to have like boxes of chocolate, right? So they'd give you like I don't know, like a dozen chocolates, the chocolate bars, and you'd go sell them. And I remember my friends, they would their parents would take them to the office, put them up on the thing, right? Put a little sign, and of course, everyone's the office snacks, so they sell through the boxes, and the kids would always come through, and they would always go through many boxes. Well, my parents, they said we don't want to bother our coworkers. We don't want to bother anybody. We're not doing that. So both my mom and my dad would never take our chocolates into the office. They would take the chocolates and they would buy them outright. They would just forget it, right? And so that really instilled in me this idea that we're bothering other people when we're selling something. And that came up for me because I'm like, I don't know how much to charge, or am I even worthy? That plays into your self-value and your worth really in the world. And so that instilled that's basically a fear, right? And I didn't really realize that until I left corporate, until I had to start putting a price tag on who I am.
Now, when you like, I completely I felt that too, right? And sometimes you feel that you don't want to bother someone or you don't want to annoy someone. And when would you say you said it changed in corporate? How was it changing that in corporate?
Well, no, in corporate, I think I still had that issue, and I really put to the test of why am I feeling like that? Maybe in negotiating raises and salary bumps and whatnot. But really in my work now, in realizing that I add value and I'm not bothering, I'm actually helping, and I'm providing a service to others that they need, and therefore should be compensated as such because it's an energy exchange.
So what would you say? What things did you do in corporate that really helped you in your consultancy?
Well, a lot of things, and I was just kind of like the accidental marketer because I went to UCLA and I was pre-law, so I didn't have like a business background. I studied sociology and I studied political science, and kind of fell into a love of sociology and the study of people, and so that kind of made me pursue a track in market research and consumer research, and really. Where am I going with that? Because I forgot your question as I was trying to share with you my evolution. But basically all the things, right? So finding myself in positions where I was given the opportunity to speak, to understand consumers, to translate that into branding and marketing positioning, which is all the things that I do now. So everything literally that I've done in corporate, I do now.
Well, what are you still afraid of?
That I'll never publish my book. I need to sit down and I need to write that thing. It's something that I've wanted to do for such a long time.
How many pages did you write?
Stop it.
All right. I won't go there. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we always have a list of things, and a book is, I don't know, it is overwhelming. It's like, oh, I got to sit down and write pages and then get it edited and all that stuff.
It's a lot when you pour your soul into something too. I think that the fear is one that nobody's going to want to read it. But I think, see, again, that's projecting. Does it matter if anyone wants to read it, right? Or is my journey the destination? Is it me in that process, exploring my thoughts, sharing my soul? If if my son is the only person that reads it, then maybe that's okay, right?
Look, no matter what, I'll if
You
you'll get two, I'll read it too.
read
I'll
it.
read it too. Yeah. So you'll have two, and then me and your son can discuss the book, and we can write your Amazon reviews.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So, what's a fear that you had before that you just look back and it's like that's so silly? I can't believe I was afraid of that.
Wow. That I couldn't do it. I think a lot. I go back into the personal thing because I think there's a lot of people that go through it that really. I was raised in a two-parent household till the day my mom passed away, and so that was a huge fear that I could not become a successful career woman and a single mother at the same time. I think a lot of people have that fear that they can't have it all, that something's going to be sacrificed, and that either they're not going to have a successful career or they're going to have a lot of issues raising amazing human beings.
No, I mean, it's a very legitimate fear. I mean, fear does stem from like the evolutionary thing of, hey, not dying, not right. It stems from survival. So it's always tough, right? Because you're always worried about your kids. Ramazan says that you'll have 3 readers. So that's good. So you'll have 3 readers, and we'll scream that's, hey, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. And fear is funny because it's like sometimes what you're afraid of today, and the biggest fear in your life today, you think about it maybe months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, and you're no longer afraid. And it's just crazy how circumstances change. Like, for example, I used to be very shy, super shy. Yeah, I used to be super shy. I was shy until like the junior year of high school. Maybe I think like obviously I wasn't shy in front of my friends and stuff, but as like a young kid I was shy, and then like I didn't know how to handle attention. Like I have unique eyes, so I'd always have people say like, hey, and random people just ask me questions, so I didn't know how to like respond. Like I'm in 2nd grade, like what do I tell like a person? I didn't know how to respond. But as you get older, you sort of get used to it, and especially I think I really got comfortable in college. I was comfortable, and I used to be the kid that used to sit at random tables like, hey, can I sit here? Like, and I used to do that. So college, and then what else did I do? I think I was part of Toastmasters, and I still am since like 2014. So that really took me like to the next level. And then right now it's just about getting better, and bigger stages and all that stuff. But it's just interesting. If you asked me last year, would you ever interview people live? I'd be like, live shows? Why would I do that? Like and it's just crazy. Life just takes all these twists and turns.
So why did you do it? Because I remember when you first started your LinkedIn lives, you're just getting rolling. I think when they just rolled out that feature to the platform, and
Yeah.
and my TR is tipped to you, bro. Like you just get out there and you just do it. But I guess what was it that drove you to it? Do you just love it? The excitement, connecting with people?
It was more about, so look, so the thing is like growing a brand, right? Growing a website. You have to do things a little different, especially online. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't like writing. I like writing LinkedIn posts. I like writing comments, but I feel like those are speaking. It's just speaking and writing. But blog post is different. It's like long. You got to sit down. You got to structure it. And that I don't like doing that. I like editing. I don't mind. So you have to put out some form of content. So then first I was like, oh, let me stream and give out career advice, because it's like, oh, someone got like some followers, and I was like, that's perfect. I could give people free advice and whatever, and that'll work, and I can get traffic. And then it was just like, it just sort of grew. So I was like, I applied for LinkedIn Live. I was like, it's a perfect platform. I can give out career advice and talk about that. And then I applied, and then I got approved like 2-3 months later. It was some time, and then I think when I told my friend Brian, and he was like, "Oh, you got live? Let's go live." And we went live for 4 hours. And then it was just like, it just sort of grew. It's like I had one direction for the show, and then it kind of just grew into different directions. And it's like I like it because it's like I get to provide value to people, listeners, and I get interesting conversations, and I get to like interview my friends, which is like, how can you beat that? And I think it's funny because I remember always in middle school, like I've always had friends, and we'd always have great conversation and just funny. And it's like, it'd be cool if we had like a TV show or something. And, it just kind of turned that we like, because I think we're gym buddies, right? When in college, and we'd come after gym, we'd argue for hours sometimes. Sometimes we'd argue till like 4 a.m., 4, 5, 6 a.m. Like, so it just kind of it existed in a different form. So that's why it's like when I came in, and the fact is, it's like I I remember talking to someone and they said, hey, people get so caught up in their backgrounds, they get caught up in so many things, but at the end of the day, it's like very few people realize I have like Rogaine in the back over there, or like this other thing, or I need to put the people don't really care, because at the end of the day, they care about the conversation, they care about the people, because you realize that people focus a lot on production value, and from a marketing standpoint, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, what does it matter if someone's really impacted? And that's all that matters. If someone reads this, it's like, hey, Christina, she was able to do it. She has 3 kids and, she did it. Or maybe they reach out to you. That's really what matters. And I think that's how I always thought. Like, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm all about like fail cheap and fail fast. And I think if you do that, you just learn a lot, because you go like perfection is just an illusion. There's nothing that's perfect, right? Even if you look at like the best basketball players in the NBA right now, they'll make like 52% of their shots, 60% of their shots. And, they're still missing 40, but they're still the best. So that's why a lot of people, I think it's like they try to aim for this perfection, but it's like things don't have to be perfect. And that's like how I've always been. It's like I don't need to, like, I think I wrote a blog article and I read it. I made a typo, but no one yelled at me. People still clicked on the links. People still did that. And it's like, it's okay.
Yeah. I feel that from you though, and I think a lot of that has a lot to do with your success because of the attainability, because you're relatable, because it's not perfect, because none of us are perfect, right? And so that just goes to even I look at you brought up fitness and being in the gym. A lot of the people on on the Instagram, and you've got different quote unquote influencers. And there's a real space for the trainers and the quote unquote influencers that look like normal people, right? Yeah. So that when you're looking for inspiration, it's not unattainable, right? You look at that person, hey, I can do that too, right? That if that person can do it, so can I. And they don't feel any shame or anything like that. It's just being real and growing together.
Yeah, no, and I think another thing, perfection is poison, I think, to a certain extent, because you look at these things, and I was reading, you even look at like models and who are on these covers, and they say, look, for this photo shoot, I didn't eat for 24 hours. I dehydrated myself. I did all that. And, people look at that. It's like, oh, she's so pretty. And they don't realize that sometimes even like all those things are airbrushed. All the real people don't look like that. And it's just crazy because, especially in certain areas, it's like you see people, they get this, they get that, and it's kind of like you can always chase perfection, and it's like if you're not happy, if you're not like, I'm not saying don't improve, right? Don't aim for better, but I think that it also needs to be healthy and realistic, because I just see people just like, hey, I need to do the perfect thing, I need the perfect business. And look at any business, they go through ups and downs, they go through recoveries. Look at people, all successful people, they'll have like, hey, I was doing well, then things went this way, then I came back, and then things went bad. And it's just like, that's just life, right? It's like very few people have like just, hey, a straight either normal life or a straight, hey, up, right?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not linear. And I think all success, I mean, you become stagnated and you're not growing, and you're not reaching new levels if you're not trying new things. And that's the only way, right, that you don't fail, is if you don't try anything new. Meanwhile, the universe is continuing to change and evolve. And if you're staying there supposedly stagnant and you're not reaching, then you're actually devolving, right? And so you experience atrophy in that sense. So it's not good. It's not.
Yeah. No, I mean, Daniel says perfection is someone else's version of reality, and I love it, because on social media, it's like everybody reads this, it's like, oh my god, this perfect, there's so many things, there's so many, marketing, there's so many things that you could do, and I see it, and I know it. It's like, look, you go, like, for example, like my girlfriend works for a consulting company, so we I traveled with her to Texas. So I could be like, hey, I'm getting paid to go to Texas, and it's like, I'm not, right? It's like, hey, I'm here. There's so many things that people can do to like puff up this illusion, and especially online. Like, you could be anything online, right? Like, I could have I could give you a screenshot showing I have 1 billion followers, right? Or I'm making this much money, but it's not reality. And for someone else, they think that this is real. So it's like, it's always very important to just ground yourself in reality, ground yourself in what's attainable, and just, striving for better. And, Matthew Shannon with some great comments, focus on progress versus perfection. I think when you focus on progress and you focus on becoming a little better, and the fact is, it's like some days you'll go ahead, some days you'll go behind, but it's a journey, right? It's a journey. Some days will be faster, some days slower, but that's right. And it's Kelsey says it's a hype in society to be perfect, and it's just not possible, because I see a lot of people, and even then you'll talk to them and other people think their lives are perfect, but on the end they're struggling with this, which is fine. It's fine to struggle. So, but it's just, you just never know what someone's going through.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I guess at the end of the day, what that really leads us to is just contentment and doing what we want, because whether or not the followers, the money, the fame, well, all that stuff, if that's real or if it's just, a facade, if you're not doing what you love, then at the end of the day, you're not going to be happy. And that's why you see all the people with all the fancy cars, the houses, all the good things, and yet there's something missing. And it's because they're not truly expressing themselves. And really, that's how you define success, right? At the end of the day, did I live today doing what I loved? Doesn't matter if I'm, sold 1 million or if I sold none. Did I love what I did? Yeah, then that's a win, right? And that's the only thing you have control of.
Yeah. So for everyone in the audience, just if you're just tuning in, we have Christina Burruss. I hope I said it right. I said it right?
You did.
Okay, good. And so she, just talk about fear and, progress and personal development. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. And, Christopher Gray, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde quote. Thank you for attributing the quote, because you see that quote a lot and then you forget who says it. You think it's Abraham Lincoln, right? Or something like that. Yeah, I mean, just if you want to support this show, patreon.com/no-degree. I don't know. You send me $1. It'll buy me some more stream time or something or whatever. But yeah, so now personal development, right? It's different when you're working for a company, and then it's different when you're sort of working for yourself. How has it changed for you when you were working for a company and versus when you're working for yourself?
Well, it's definitely more top of mind and more focused. I've always been one, though, to kind of be, I think, like the eternal student, if you will, of the human condition. I'm always trying to understand. I think that's why I led myself into studies of sociology and consumer research originally, because I'm always trying to understand, why humans are the way we are, and how we evolve. And so I have more time to do it, and I make that a part of my tasks. It is my job to become a better human and to more understand myself, and then to really translate that to my clients. And so, whereas in corporate, you show up to your job, you do your tasks, and it's not necessarily a priority on the clock, right? To really grow yourself personally. And I think it's all mixed together, right? And you see that even on LinkedIn, where people are posting motivational quotes, they're talking about spirituality, they're talking about professionalism, because you're all one being and you're not siloed, really, right? You can't just walk through the door and all of a sudden all you are is a title on your business card. And so we always have to be striving to be better people. And since branching out to my own, it's been even more a priority of myself to bring out the best in everybody that I work with, because it's all like vibrational matching, if you will. And so, yeah.
Can I go on a small rant about motivational quotes on LinkedIn?
Do it.
You feel free to disagree. Everybody has their own take. I find that if you don't explain it, or if there's no story behind it, if there's no actionable advice, I find that it doesn't add much. I feel like a motivational quote on LinkedIn is, because they say motivation is self-fleeting, right? That you get it, it's like a little, you feel good about yourself, but I don't feel like they add too much value, in my opinion, where it's just a quote and that's it. In my opinion, I feel like it's always like it gets a lot of likes, it gets a lot of things, but it's like your life. I don't know. I'd rather hear something. Hey, here's a story. Here's exactly what I did. Here's what the steps I took. I feel like that you could take somewhere. I feel like, if motivational quotes did something, you just need a book on like copy and pasted motivational quotes and you'd be successful. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
No, I'm right on with you. It's all about context, right? And
yeah.
So I think there's something wrong when you put a quote and then go into it. Why is it important to you? Why does it resonate to you? Or how can somebody apply that to their lives? It's just like sharing a news story, right? A news article. want to just pop it in, share, and move on. It's more like, here's a news article. This is why I found it interesting. By the way, I also read XYZ, or give it some flavor. What's This is your platform, your page, right? So we want to hear your voice. Why is it important to you? I agree.
Okay, cool. That's what, no wonder I liked you. So no, it's just one of those things that I feel like, especially social media, right? Because social media is super addicting, right? These platforms are designed to keep you on the platform regardless of how you use it. And it can be to a point where it's like detrimental, where you're feeling good, you're reading all these things, and same thing where you watch a lot of motivational videos. Like I find that they say a lot while saying nothing, right? And it's like at some point you need to really take the actionable steps. And then Daniel Hall said, I absolutely love what Christine said about bringing the best in everyone. Now, that leads me to my next question. How do you bring out the best in yourself? Because it's not easy, right? So what steps do you take?
I have a daily routine, and I really try to stay grounded. A lot of stressors in life, of course, the own business and the parent thing. And so I start every single morning. I meditate, I journal, I either work out or I go for walks, and I keep myself grounded. And so really thinking about what it is that I want, and where I am, and how I'm going to make those things, get a little closer to those things today, of the things I have control of. And so it gives me more of a sense of knowingness, and keeps my vibration high, and really not getting too deep into the weeds of, anything that's going on that's counter to that, right? A lot of the things you see it online, and you post something that you think isn't controversial, and people just, they can't help themselves but argue over it and such. And so you could go around trolling. Sometimes late at night, you're in, have insomnia, and you start reading, and it gets real juicy, and you're, in this virtual chat room, and all these people are just going off, and it's, man, you just don't want to get into all that. And so, that's, for me, it's important, right, to keep your energy as pure as you can, because you share that with other people, and either you're going to lift them up, or you're going to bring them down, and it's just not a good thing, especially now. I mean, 2020, man, we just got to keep it positive, and really start sharing our light. That's what we all need.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're 100% right, because you see certain things, and honestly, it's really not worth your time to sort of, there's one thing to sort of get into an honest, fair, intellectual debate, and where both people come out, okay, I see your perspective, I see mine, I learned something from you, you learn something from me. But then there are some areas where you just know, you comment and it's not going to go anywhere, and you're just going to come out angry, they're going to come out angry, and it really, it really ruins your experience. And then one thing I read online is like, you can't argue with stupid, or you can't argue, because they just have more experience in it. Yeah. Right? They just have more experience in that. And I've seen it. I actually did sort of, I'll send you the comment. But I did do a savage comment yesterday to someone. Someone said something so idiotic that I had to just like, once in a while you just have to like, put something out there. But it is very interesting how you can get sucked in, because it's like, people are drawn to drama, right? That's why I like the new, right? It's very different when you watch the news and you read the news. Reading is meant for someone, hey, I'm sitting down, I'm here to sort of learn. Over there, they just sort of like keep you glued, whatever keeps you glued, and whatever keeps you like, hey, and they really focus on your emotion, like what will elicit a response, what will go this way. And they sort of have to, because they're competing with your phones, they're competing with that, right? You work in marketing, and so it like people, right, they love the back and forth, and it kind of brings out that raw instinct in us. Huh?
Yeah, they get triggered. And it's just this illusion that we're like communicating, and we're because we're in our homes most of the time, right? So we're not really in any kind of social settings, and so emotions are on high. But a lot of times when I'll read something like that, I gotta step back and just say, and sometimes I get into it, and I want to type something, I know, and I delete it, and I just, because it's not adding to that conversation, when that person is out there just to literally speak their mind, and throw bombs, and even if you reason with them, it's not going to go anywhere. But if it's respectful, right, and there's a exchange of intellectual thought, even though they are opposing thoughts, That's totally fine. But sometimes I can feel you get triggered, and sometimes you got to put it out there and be savage.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah, sometimes you just gotta just lay it out, and it's again, it's just I, I think, and talk about the opposing thoughts. A lot of it's like fear of people who think different, fear of, but you realize that even your best friends, they have like, I argue with my best, in good faith and just being friends, like, it's all good, right? But it's like, it's okay for people to sort of disagree. It's okay for people to sort of have different thoughts. And, as long as people are like, respectful, I think that's really, just don't be a jerk. I think that's really, and there are some people you kind of see who are like, look, they're being respectful and they're I find that the people who are respectful, they always come out learning something, and it's something, they add something to their toolbox.
Yeah, that's the way we grow, right? So that openness, I mean, really having empathy and knowing that, if your opinion doesn't really mesh with mine, it's not about me, and it's not, a personal attack on me, or does not diminish my thoughts, or or who I am, right? And I think a lot of people just take everything personally, and it's like,
Yeah,
they think because of their life experience, it has not. You're not that important. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. You're so right that we're not that. I think once you realize that, hey, we're not that important to all these XYZ people, that then it's sort of freeing.
Yeah. I'm no big deal. You're no big deal. We're just here, just talking.
So, yeah, no, I mean, and that's the fun thing. And you know what? That's the other thing. It's like, going back to like whatever 30 minutes ago, the live show. It's like I just kind of take it that way, where it's like, look, the fact that, look, there are people who are like, hey, people message me like, hey, I'm so sorry I missed your show. I was like, you don't have to watch. Like, it's not like I have a Nielsen rating or something that someone's gonna get me for. Right? It's just like I like it, and it's just interesting when you sort of put yourself out there. You just never know where things are gonna go. Because I think now I've probably done over 120 hours of live since amazing. I started, and I would have done more. Huh?
You've probably learned so much, and like
you do
amazing people.
Yeah, and that's the beauty. It's like you meet some amazing people, and it's just, I don't know, you just have fun with it, and you can kind of upgrade. You see, like I did a new thing, like you see how like my hair's moving because I have a fan next to me, so I figured, I'm upgrading.
Oh, excellent! Yeah, it's nice effects there.
Yeah. No, but what I really like about today, especially now, it's like you get a lot of real conversation. You have to look for them, but you get a lot of real conversations, because I find that nowadays, like, a lot of regular people have voices that it wasn't possible. Like, if you weren't famous in the 80s, you didn't have a platform, you didn't go anywhere, right? In the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s. And I think really social media platform and access to technology really allows like someone like me, and marketing and stuff, but it really allows just two people just having 2, 3, 4, 10 people just having conversations, and really just, we have whatever 10 to 20 people who are watching this through the show. And it's just very cool that we don't need a heavy studio. Like my setup is not crazy expensive, just a laptop, just normal everyday things, right? So that's what I really love about how things are just becoming more accessible to people.
Totally. And it's always been like that, right? We just never had the platform to get out there and speak on it. And now everyone's got a phone, everyone's got, or you got your laptop and it's got a camera, you got access to your social media, and hey, you got something to say it. And really that's what we're always all here for, right? Is to find out who we are and to express that and share that, with others, right? And we're all looking for that understanding.
Yeah, and then Kelsey says something wonderful. She was like, if you're fake, your happiness will be too. And I like that. It's like, right, if you live up that illusion, it's like other people see that illusion, and it just sort of feeds into it, and eventually it crumbles down. And when it crumbles down hard. So yeah, I mean, what else has sort of been on your mind?
Gosh, everything, 2020's been kind of crazy, a little crazy. So it's been a lot of stuff.
It's the craziest year of my life.
It is, a lot of,
for me, it's been good. Fortunately, I know not everyone has it the same way, but I'm just very fortunate. I'm very blessed to be in the situation I am. But yeah, it is just crazy. I just what you see and what's going on. It's crazy.
It is. A lot of my clients, actually, I was just speaking with someone yesterday. We're talking about, the future of live events. So, especially in marketing across all verticals, a lot of that depends upon live events. So within the tech realm, you've got, the big shows, right? Consumer Electronics Show in January. You've got photo shows. You've got all this stuff where all the manufacturers are out there showing their wares. They're inviting the industry analysts, the press, etc. And that's been really interesting for me to just kind of see where are we going with this, because it's one thing to go virtual with your your work teams and continue to produce and to put out the products, etc. But live events is one of the things that's going to be interesting, I think, to study, to look at the trends, and to really offers us though another point to pivot and shift, right? To tap into the virtual events, and how do you do that effectively?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk after, because I've been doing hosting virtual events and stuff, so it's been pretty interesting. I did like a virtual career fair, did a virtual college fair for my high school, and and the beauty is, it's like even when live events come back, sometimes virtual events will still have their place, because yeah, you could have your yearly trade show, but then for other aspects, smaller things, it's so much, you get this other cost effectiveness aspect where it's like, hey, let's have the trade show to the trade show the weekend before, so that allows you to be like, oh, I'm going to talk to Christina, I'm going to talk to Jake, I'm going to talk to John, Ramazan. So it's like, Ramazan says 2020 is a timeout break in life, we'll come back even stronger.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so that's one of the things though, right? So, my slant is the marketing consultancy. And so really talking to that though, about the shift from the live to the virtual. And I'm sure you've had this also in your dealings with people.
Yeah.
It's really talking to them about shifting to mitigate those fears, because none of us have ever been here before.
And everybody's going through it together. So it's not like, hey, it's not just, hey, one person's going through it alone. It goes, and so I'm actually hosting a virtual comedy show.
Are you?
Like a comedian? Yeah, July 25th. It's I think it's like $5.
July 25th is
Saturday.
Okay.
I'm not the comedian.
Tell the people. I want to hear the details. We want to know.
Yeah, so I'll send it to you. But yeah, we got like 6 comedians. They do like, it's comedians, so they do like push a little boundaries, but it's good. I like that they're right. And so yeah, we have, I think it's like $5 or $10. We make it cheap, and it goes to the comedians. That's where the money goes, just so, and it gives them an outlet, and they get to practice their routine. So it's just interesting, right? That last year, if you asked me, it's like, would you do virtual events as a business? I would be like, oh, I don't know. It's like, people do virtual events. How does that work? And now it's like, I'm actually shifting my focus to like more virtual events, and it's just crazy. That's like how personal development goes. So that's why it's like, one question, and let's kind of, I'm going to talk about like the job setting, like interviews, right? Interviews, they always ask you, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I think that's a terrible question, because you just never know. You really don't know. Like, everybody who asked that every interviewer who asked that wasted their time.
Right.
Who asked that in January and before wasted their time, because everyone's 5-year plan has changed. Everyone's. And I'm all about 3-month. I'm more about the 3-month plan, and then fixing, reiterating.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, you got to be suspect too of somebody who's going to sit in front of you when you're posed that question, and they're just so sure of where they're going to be. And especially in a job setting, am I supposed to tell you that I'm still going to be on your team in 5 years, or I may have moved on because maybe you've moved on? Because that's a long time, right?
5 years is so long.
If we're trying to develop and we're trying to push forward, hopefully we're not looking at each other in 5 years in the same capacity, right?
Yeah.
A lot of growth time. And so I agree with you that whole idea has to shift timelines, I guess. And our idea of time has to evolve with that. So that
and I think it needs to be asked differently. It needs to be asked like, not where do you, I think they need to be like specific in that, hey, I want to talk more about not what position, not like what do you sort of want to accomplish in a general sense, because you can't get into specific, like, hey, I want to be director level 2 in 5 years and get a benefit package of this. Like, you just don't know. Where it's like, hey, you know what? Like, I want, they need to really ask that, because people sort of answer in the way they want it to hear, like, hey, I want to get promoted, I want to do this. And it's like, and it doesn't help either person. Right? It doesn't help the person realize, hey, what is this person looking for? And the person is just like not giving their honest answer, because, unfortunately they just can't, right? They're sort of thinking about getting the job. So, and again, it's just one of those things that I think the employer, and it stems from fear. If you think about it, the employer's worried about, hey, is this person going to stay for X number of years? And the person's like, hey, I need to get this job and, pay my bills. But I think, again, it's just the issue of fear where it's like, hey, if you don't, I think once you let go of the fear of like, hey, will this person leave, instead of focusing more on the positive, how do I get this person to stay? And even if they don't stay, it's okay. How do you make sure that things work out? Because the fact is that people move, people get fired. The person interviewing you is probably thinking about their next job anyway. I've seen it all the time, right? They'll ask, and then a month later they switch internal positions or they leave, and it's just like it's not helpful, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you were saying that, I just was thinking in my mind, what would have happened if you get posed that question, right? And you give whatever canned answer you want in the 5 years. But then if you flip it, right? Because then they'll ask at the end of the interview, do you have any questions for me? And I would wonder if you flip that back on them, what that interviewer would say. Where do they see themselves in 5 years? Still being my manager? Still being right here, right?
But you should look them in the eye and be like, I hold you to that.
Right.
And when they leave, be like, "Yo, you to answer honestly." I don't know. I think the employer relationship should really shift to more balance. I just feel like employers just have so much power in terms of they expect certain things from you, but they don't hold the, because think about it. It's like if an employer shows up late to an interview, it's not like the person who shows up late will get reprimanded by HR. You show up late to an interview, all of a sudden you're the worst human being to ever touch the planet, and if you step into the building, you'll probably burn it down, right? It's just kind of that aspect. I don't like that.
It's a lot, right? Where they start to judge, psychoanalyze, and just try to, I guess, put out all these expectations that are really wouldn't even be, okay in any other situation. It wouldn't even be applicable. It's just, yeah.
No, I mean, it's just, but I think things are shifting as people are learning more and more, and that's why I tell people, it's like, put yourself in a situation like yours, where it's like, hey, if things don't work out, I'm okay. If you don't get this interview, you're gonna be okay. If right, don't put yourself in a position where it's like, look, obviously everyone has bills to pay, but that you have maybe 2-3 paychecks, like, hey, saved up, so. Because, the strongest position you can ever be in is when you can walk away. And I tell this all the time in negotiation, if you can walk away, because, it's just the expectation and is, oh, you can't have gaps, you can't have this, you can't have that. But if you look at what's the expectations for regular employees versus like executives have gaps all the time. They do the craziest, they negotiate for the craziest things, right? And it's just crazy in that, honestly, everyone should have that executive, like they should be looked at as an executive, because you give everyone that level of power and that level of ownership, they will produce to that level, in my opinion.
And you know what, I agree. And I think a lot of that, right, is that that fear that we ourselves along the chain hold on to, right? So then when you get to the executive level and you've got a specific title, then suddenly you feel like you've arrived and you let go of a lot of those fears and you operate a little bit more boldly and command really what you deserve, and all of us should be doing that. And then you'll see, if you're not afraid to do so and take those chances and just be right people and the right resources are going to show up for you.
Yeah. So I mean, if you don't mind, how are your kids handling it, if you don't mind me asking?
They're doing well. They're doing well. They're 12, 10, and 9. They've been home since March. I did the homeschooling thing, and we live in San Diego, California, and so I do take them out, we drive down the coast to the beach.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Beautiful view, I can imagine.
But it's a lot. It's a lot, because usually in our summers we take road trips and we do the things, and that's missing a big piece of it. But we're just, a lot of it has to come from, I think, how I'm processing the information and our situation. That fear is transferred, right? And we talked about vibration earlier. And so, again, me starting my days and grounding myself and really putting positive light forward, I think is helping them. It's other than, I know there's other parents out there just totally stressed and crazed. And I'm sure the kids pick that up, right? And then they're scared and all that too. So my kids have been great. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, I mean, kids are interesting because they really look at how you do things and your confidence and all that. And that gives them ideas for good or for worse, right? Sometimes they go a little too far. Like, I'll tell you something funny. Like, So my nephew, like he loves Chappelle, so he watched the DVDs, and then he told me, I was talking to him once. This is months ago, and he was like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna audition for the talent show." I was like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" He's like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna do stand up." I was like, "Okay, okay. What are you gonna do stand up on?" He's like, "Well, I'm just gonna go up there and do Chappelle." And I was like, "No, no, you can't do that. You can't do that." He's like, "No, no." He's like, "I won't say the curse words." I'm like, "No, no, no. In comedy, you can't." And then he was like, "Oh, okay." But it's just good that kids really explore and absorb and they learn and they make mistakes. But I think having good role models and just having that fear, because it's like we always sort of want the next generation, whether they be our kids or just friends, family members, or even people we don't know. We always sort of want it to be better, right? That's what society is about. Just look, progress takes time, but it's all about being better than before. And I think that's really what we want, right? I mean, in my opinion, that's sort of what I want. I want like the next generation to be like, hey, look, you have access to this, sort of use it, and right. I want to do the best I can to serve that.
Totally. And it's all about staying curious, right? And being childlike in our own being. I think that's how we continue to preserve our own happiness and our own, our own, I guess, contentment in our lives. That there's a point in our childhood, right, where we trade some of that curiosity for fear of, the failures and the shortcomings and the judgments from parents and etc. But the more we can be like the children who we're trying to emulate, really. So it's really looking at them and their fearlessness that helps us along the journey.
Yeah, I mean, I find that as children we were afraid of certain things, but then other things we weren't afraid of, and then as adults we become not afraid of certain things, but we're afraid. And it's like if you mix those two personalities, like for me, it's like, look, I always maintain that kid aspect where it's like, look, have fun, do things, try new things. Don't get too conservative in your mindset of like, hey, this is how things are, because the fact is, it's like I'm not the same person that I was last year. I'm not the same person the year before. I'm not going to be the same person next year, right? We're always going to be the change. I think I left a comment on someone's post. He was like, "Hey, we always want to stick to our roots," and I find that you can change so much and still stay true to your roots. I find that like sometimes the more you change, the closer you get to your roots. It's like sort of this oxymoron, this paradox.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving, but of course, bringing you back to your own true nature. And I think with that, when you continue to just be yourself and have fun with it, the right people are attracted to you, and you just have this circle of people who are just all really just thriving together, and versus other people who, if you're fake and if you're just pretending to be something, you're not going to call in the people who are truly attracted to your light, because you yourself are not even okay with it yet.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's slowly start to wrap up. I know you got marketing companies to tell them how to do things the right way. And, during this environment, I just want to thank Kelsey, John Lindsay, Rick, Daniel Hall, Christopher Gray, all Matthew Shannon. Feel free to put a comment, put an emoji. If you're watching this later, someone did a good thing. So do hashtag replayed or something. So that way I know, hey, you watched it live or you watched it on the replay, and then I'll try my best to respond to the comments. Feel free to ask any final questions. If you want to support the show, again, patreon.com/no degree. Ideally, if I made enough money through that, I would just do more live shows. But unfortunately, I need to pay some bills, just like everyone. And Valentina says, I heard a great thing during an online event recently that will stay with me forever. Believe in your employees to such an extent that it will be impossible for them to fail. This should be applied in all aspects of life. Replace employees with whatever word you want. And, so what are your final thoughts before, that we have to unfortunately end?
Yeah, no, I just appreciate you having me on. I've watched for a long time, and I know we've had.
It's been how long? It's been when did we message? It's my fault. I'm sorry, just like so busy, and I always get a lot of requests for live shows, and
you know what? It happens when it's supposed to happen, right? So
I think it worked out.
It's like the right message at the right time. I believe that about all the things. So I'm really happy that you brought me on. I think that it's a topic, of course, that's ever so important, but even more so in this time of uncertainty. But we can all do it if we we do it together.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tag Christina in the comments. So feel free to send her a connection. Just let her know that you watched the live show. Where'd it go? It had you. Oh, I typed in 1 hour. So I tagged her. So connect with Christina to let her know you watched the show. She's a great connection. I love her energy, love her content. She's a real connection because I find like, I get a lot of people who ask to be on my live show and they never engage and they never, and then it's like, look, when I do think of like, who am I going to have? It's like, oh, I owe this person a show, because it's like, look, I'm really looking at it. And I find the shows are always better when you have like, hey, people are giving to each other, supporting each other.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you having me on. I just appreciate you having the show in general. I think a lot of people on the platform benefit from it, and so love to support you in any way I can. Of course.
No, you already do, so I appreciate it. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate. Oh, comedy show July 25th. If you need the link, send me a message. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be adult. Adult. So if you have your kids, just let them know. Maybe they have to cover their ears here and there. But thank you, each and every one of you. I appreciate you. I had fun. I'm going to be doing more of these. Oh, I'm also going live at 11 p.m. EST tonight. So look forward to that. I'm going to have Marissa Brown. We'll be talking about different topics. I don't even know what the topic is, but I'll go live and I'll have fun. And thank you again, Christina. We'll do this again.
All right.
And we'll choose a different time.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And